Okay, welcome to a walk through Ballarat Darkie. Rather than doing heaps of questions this time, like I've done in the past, I'm going to answer one question that's quite hard to answer. It's a few people have asked me what happened with the 70k Graffiti crew and myself. I might just quickly do a too long, didn't listen version for those that can't be bothered listening to the whole story, which I find the story is a bit of a laugh. Like my side of it, I'm not saying them getting busted or anything funny. This isn't going to be an anti-70k video. I actually like most of the guys. Some of them are quite good friends as far as I'm concerned. I know people are going to be like, you gotta take this video down. People are going to get arrested or hassled because of it. Well, I've got a few things to say on that. One is I'm probably risking more than most because I'm going to be admitting to certain things that, I don't even want to go on about it too much now. Another thing is that, maybe some of these guys need to man up and take some responsibility for their actions. I'm cool with everything they did, but they did it. They made their own bed. They need to lie on it. So that's the only real negative things I think I'll be saying. I might say a snippet here and there. In regards to me informing on the 70k guys, I'd just like to point out a few simple things for those that aren't going to watch this video or listen to what I'm saying. I never got called as a witness. I had hours and hours of footage of B doing illegal things, like even spray painting the simple things like the gold clanny count in the chamber. I had heaps of photos of most of the crew, the 70k guys. They never got anything from me. The reason I spoke to them rather than just saying no comment was I actually thought I'll try and get some information for the guys, and I'll go into this more further on, but keep in mind I never got called as a witness, and just about all my mates are either mostly ex-graffitiists or graffiti artists. As if I'm going, and what the police had on me was a KFC sign that I pinched from the nature strip outside a KFC. They were telling me if I helped them catch B from 70k, that I would get a diversion, but I wouldn't get charged. So the first thing I thought was, I don't give a shit about that. That's not going to stop me getting a job. I'll just say it was years ago anyway. So I didn't care. So they thought they had something on me. When they raided one of the 70k guys, they got a heap of Ildronos. So they knew that I knew the 70k guys, but they also saw a bit of anti-graffiti stuff, but more like, stop tagging in bluestone parts, stop tagging in. So the police, early on, I realised they thought I was like a comrade, and and I kind of used that to some extent. But I just wanted to point that out at the start for those that don't listen, that aren't going to listen. There's no, and even in hindsight now, they didn't use any of my evidence. What I did tell them, which I'll explain in the video, I knew that they wouldn't be able to use. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm also not a total dumbass. And what seemed to suck are in. You'll notice I'm using letters rather than names. These letters are just random. So what happened was the police took a statement from me. I said, that's not what I'm saying. This is where I did make a mistake. I asked them, I said, no, I'm not saying that. And so they rewrote the statement. So it was a lot more pissier. It was that pissy that 2 weeks later they told me I'm not going to be used as a witness. So keep that in mind. The first statement, they took it, I said no. They retyped out a second one, which I signed. Which I to be honest, I didn't want to sign it, but like I said, I found out heaps of information that the guys didn't know about, and I'll go into that in the video. Yeah, so that was a mistake I made. I should have destroyed that first copy. So what it appears happened is that the guys kept my original statement. I signed the second statement, which, as I said, was weak as piss, had nothing that'd be of any use to them. But it appears that they forged my signature or scribbled something on the thing. Whether they copied my signature, I never saw it. And they actually showed that statement, the one that I rejected. And I quote, I said to them, I am not going to go to court and lie for you. And anyway, they got that fucking statement and used it. They showed it to R and I don't know who, other people, and said, Duggo's turns, you're all going to go down. So that's the best they had. Was pissing out that they were going to lie. They had a guy who was me, and you know, if the 70k guys were fucking honest, like one guy, I'm not even going to give him an initial, I just call him fun of people. I can't actually remember exactly how I found out about the 70k bust. I know it was in the papers and someone rang and told me. I'm not sure how I found out about it, but I got a phone call from R, and he said I got arrested and the police came around my place. While he was going through photos, they said, oh, there's Duggo. This guy had a photo from the 20s. And they said, we'll be paying him a visit soon. Which is a bit weird, you know. Why would they tip me off? Why would they tell R that? And then, yeah, you know, look, I was always a bit sceptical of that. I know how many graffitiists that I know that have been busted by graffitiists dobbing other people in to save themselves. So, and sometimes I think that this whole thing may have, because R is the one that started the whole informer thing, and I sometimes wonder if, you know, it was a bit of guilt or he was trying to deflect. But anyway, sure enough, some period of time after that, days after that, I'm sitting at home with my wife, the phone rings, I answer the phone, so I say hello, there's no answer, and I hang up. And then a few minutes later, there's a knock at the door. My wife goes to the door. She says, oh, there's some police here for you. The best way to describe the way I'll probably refer to these cops maybe is good cop, bad cop. One cop was a bit more serious and the other cop was a bit more light-hearted, you know. And they were undercover. They'd been undercover. And I can sort of understand how the good cop, you know, he was sort of a bit more like, wasn't so obvious a cop, but anyway, when I got to the door, there was like a wire door, so they couldn't see me and I could see them, and the good cop says to the bad cop, oh, he's got the same shoes as mine, which were those Converse Muppet skater shoe things, I don't think they make them anymore, and the other cop goes to him, his are bigger than yours. Anyway, I opened the door and they said, oh, hi, you know, can you come out here, can we have a word to you? They take me into the carport and they tell me that they've got video, they raided A's father's business and they got all this video footage of me nicking this KFC sign, and I was sort of mucking around when I got it. Now this KFC sign was broken, sitting on the nature strip. You know, I didn't trespass, I didn't climb up on the roof, I didn't smash it. All I did was take it and put it in actually A's boot. But he filmed me doing it, and I was acting like a homeboy. At the time we were putting heaps of signs up on the walls of the chamber in Anzac, and I just said, this is going up on the wall of the chamber. So yeah, they told me that they got me on this and they can charge me with all this stuff, you know, and they said that if I help them out with the 70k guys, one in particular who I'll call B, that they would give me a diversion, get me a diversion, and I wouldn't get a criminal record. So the funny thing with this is, I don't know, they must have been just doing a state check, because I've got a criminal record in Canberra, and it's actually with B, the guy that they were trying to get me to lag on. And I had other smaller criminal records in Victoria. I had like 3 or 4 trespassing type things, not for exploring. And then they told me, go back in and just tell your wife, don't tell them about the KFC sign, just tell them that you're helping us with the 70k guys or so. They said some piss weak excuse. And basically they said, go in and lie to your wife. So I went in, just told her the truth. I said, they want me to go down to the police station. The closest police station was an interview room or whatever that was open, I don't know. These guys were from Melbourne. It was Moe. We go into the Moe shop, desk sergeant, whatever he is, desk jockey. But the whole thing was a bit, I don't know. Like I'm a bit of a unit, I guess. Pretty tall and that, but you know, there's other tall people. There's people taller than me, but like his camera thing, the height was wrong. He had it on like a tripod thing, and he couldn't get it the right height. You know, having to you just do it manually, and like my hands were too big for the. So when they do the fingerprints thing, because I've never had any of this done before, they take each of your fingerprints, but they also do a palm print. But my palm print was that big that it went over into the fingerprint and damaged the fingerprints. And she goes, oh, they don't make these things big enough for guys like you. We go into the interview room, the three of us, the desk jockey, he obviously doesn't. And these are transit police, I should point out. They're not real police. Anyway, we go into the interview room. They shut the door behind us. It's electronically locked. You need an EAC card, an access card. The two of them sat opposite me, and then they started talking to me about the KFC sign. And I said, look, and they recorded this. This is recorded. So the weird thing is this is recorded, but all the discussion with about the 70k guys isn't recorded. So this has nothing to do with 70k. They want to charge me with whatever, theft, I can't remember the specifics. And I just say to them, look, I know you want me to say, yes, I did this and yes, I did that, but I said, but it was 5 or 6 years ago. It was the end of the night, I was blind drunk. And they said, well, we've got it on video, do you want to see the video? And I said, not really, but I guess you can show it to me. No, meaning not really, because I'm going to look like a dickhead. But their laptop was in another room. So the cop goes up and he swipes his card, and then he pulls the door and it won't open. So he does it again, it won't open. So he pulls out his phone and he tries to call, but it's got no reception, his mobile. I noticed when I sat down on my side that there was a phone on the floor wrapped up in its own cord. And I know you're going to think I'm weird. Why help them? But I said, oh, there's a phone down here. And some of this is going to sound made up, but they sort of pulled the phone out, put it up on a table, and they're like, oh, well, we've got to find somewhere to plug it in. And like literally 20 centimetres from where they sat the phone is the plug. You know, phone plugs are pretty. It's not like nowadays where there's all different core cables. It was a friggin' what we've had for 150 years. I was going, no, I think just plug it in there. So they plug it in, and they're like, oh, what's the number of the Moe police station? And I jokingly just said, oh, 000, I think. And they seriously were like, no, that's for emergencies only. And I was like, oh, fuck, anyway. So they ring the transit police in Melbourne, and they say, can you get us a number of the Moe police station? And probably a good idea to do this in the winter. So the dude gives him he writes down the number, and then he hangs up. Then he rings the Moe police station. So from this interview room, you can actually hear the phone ringing down the hallway. And so it's ring, 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 and then you hear the cop, and you can hear the cop talking. He's like, hello, Moe police station. The transit cop, good cop, bad cop, whichever one it was, says, oh, we're locked. We're stuck in the room, the card doesn't work, can you come and let us out? And you could just hear the cop laughing. He hangs up the phone, and as he gets closer, he's laughing more, louder and louder. And he comes in, he opens the door and comes in the interview room, and then he shuts the door. So he's in there now. First thing I'm thinking is, fuck, I hope it's not really broken, because he's the only other cop in the building. And he says to the transit cop, show me how you try to get out. And the cop goes up and he swipes it. And like he pulls the door and it doesn't open. Then the cop gets the card and he goes, not like that, and he swipes it. And I could see what he was doing. You pull the door as you're swiping, whereas the other cop was swiping, and there was like no time. You had to do it within a split second. So you pull the door as you swipe. That's what the cop did. But the cop says to the transit cops, like this, and he swipes it and pulls the door, and he goes, like a man. And I just had this huge smile on my face, because this cop was like, these guys are dickheads, you know, transit police or whatever. They're not real police. So that whole thing was pretty funny. Then they took me in and showed me the video of me acting like a dickhead. This is going to sound incriminating, but I was sort of saying stuff to the cops to try and make them think that I was willing to help. So I said a few things which were total bullshit. So this is one of the things that I said is total bullshit. And the cops also told me, I'm not sure exactly when, but they told me by the time I was watching the video that because B and A and I don't even know what to call the other guy because he doesn't play a big part in it, but because they all shot off overseas, that they had this big budget because the Melbourne Commonwealth Games were coming up, and basically the government said, get rid of all this graffiti. So it had all this money, and 70k was on their list of, you know, people to get. And then 70k did this thing to like a police memorial train, and apparently the police went, fuck it, get these cunts. I don't know that story very well, and you know, but that's apparently what tipped them over the edge. That, and they had this funding. Whether that's true or not, I'm not a graffiti historian, so they were going to make it so that everyone that knew these guys that shot off overseas were going to be pressured that much by the police that they would all hate the guys that shot off overseas. I didn't. At this stage, I had no animosity towards them at all. My whole point of being here was, you know, to try and help them or try and find out information. Anyway, I just thought I'd point that bit out. Anyway, I see the video, I look like a dickhead, I go in, so I admit to taking the KFC sign. As I said earlier, I don't give a shit. I'm not after a diversion. But sorry, I didn't miss out a bit. So what I said to them, when they were telling me about, you know, we're going to make it hard for anyone, I said to Bad Cop, I said it to both of them, but Bad Cop answered me. Now this is serious. Once again, some of this is going to sound made up, but it's not. I said, can I send an email to these guys, meaning the 70k guys that fucked off overseas, and tell them, and just say to them, thanks a fucking lot. So the reason I was saying that is so the police think that, you know, yeah, as I said earlier, that I was willing. And the Bad Cop says to me, I think it was Bad Cop, but Bad Cop says to me, oh, you can't do that because we've taken all their computers. We raided their houses and got all their computers. And I sort of looked at him. I'm not tech savvy. Anyone that knows Id of the Cave Clan, ask Id about my phone calls. Or even more recently, Jim Zerbex. You know, when I am not tech savvy at all. But I just looked at the cops thinking, are you fucking joking? You stole their computer. You took their computers. Stole's probably an apt description. And you think that I can't email them because of that? I told my missus that, and she was just like, she still jokes about that 20 years later. So yeah, these cops were geniuses. Anyway, then we go back into the interview. Yeah, they showed me photos, and one of the photos had like a stack of people in the North Melbourne train yards, like on the tracks, I think, like a group shot of 5 or 6. And I think I knew nearly all of them. As soon as I got out of there, I rang everyone in that photo that I knew, and I told them. This is where I'm sort of incriminating myself a bit. But, you know, after the police getting my incorrect statement and showing it to, I don't know who they showed it to. They showed it to R. When I found out about that, I was like, fuck them. Like, that's illegal. And if they forged my signature, if they signed anything, that's forgery. If they actually tried to sign my signature, it's even worse. that was it. I was like, well, I'm glad that R told me that, because I didn't know that for a long time. I thought he was calling me an informer because he ended up going to jail, and I thought he was trying to say I lagged on him and put him in jail, and I was saying to him, like, via some dodgy Instagram account, that's the only way I could get hold of him, or he got hold of me, actually, and I was just like, I wouldn't even know I know nothing about you. I just know your name, your first name, and that's it. That's when he said, no, it's not that. I saw your statement, the police were showing it, So I was thinking, like, all you need is one fucking meth head graffitiist who's heard these guys saying that I'm an informer. I could be I was in dodgy places a lot of time. Like, I was in pubs with lots of graffitists. Even in a drain, like, if someone saw me, all I need is someone, to pull out a knife and bloody shiv me or something. I know it's unlikely to happen, but that's how I felt. Like, I wasn't shitting myself, but I was thinking, these fucking cops, that's fucked, That to me, that's, considering, as far as the cops were concerned, unless they knew that I was bullshitting them, but they never let on that they did. Unless the cops knew I was bullshitting them, I was effectively helping them, as far as they were concerned. So yeah, some people say all coppers are cunts, so, I'll leave it up to you to decide. Yeah, and what else happened in there? Yeah, the photos. Oh yeah, they asked me about the graffitists live, when I say heaps, a handful, and they would do pieces in there. But the cops told the owner was letting them in, and they were taking photos, and they were going through these kinds of shit, like they were going in when no one was there. But he was moving, and they said, can you get us an invite to their new housewarming, whichever factory warehousing they moved to? And I said it, and when I said this, it was pretty much true. I mean, I probably could have got an invite. But I told them, I said, look, the graffiti side of things, they do not reveal anything. They do not talk to me about it, especially these guys, like 70k guys. They were really secretive about it. Anyway, I told Annoying straight away. I rang him and said, do not have a housewarming for a while. And be careful, the cops are trying to get an invite to or get into it. I did this with everything. There's so much shit that I can't remember that's trivial shit. I'm just remembering the main things. And these are the cunts, like, and this annoys, but all that, and then, over time, more and more people would message me, you're talking about police, but you dogged on 70k. And it's something I've never done. I love these demons. Good stuff. Like, I've never, ever lagged on anyone. Not ever. And so to have people saying that about people that were friends with me, I was never really mates with R or Annoying, but quite a few of the other guys I really liked. And some of them I was good mates with. One guy I explored with for 2 or 3 years. Like, apparently I told them to all fuck off. I've heard this from a mutual friend that I told them all to fuck off. And I said, look, I don't recall telling them all to fuck off, but when they were going around saying it was a dog and I heard more and more of them were saying it, I may have said it then, but I was pretty fucking pissed off at one stage. It was shit. They totally got sucked in by these cops, and the cops weren't the brightest fucking. They fell. I don't even know what you call it. The trick where they do that, We've got Jono, and he's telling us all about it. He might as well spill the beans. And they fell for it. And fair enough, they had the statement. And I'll be totally honest with you, my statement that I changed wasn't a heap different, but the statement that I said, the main thing that asked to be changed was they said. Now, this is a bit hard because I'm trying not to reveal names. Basically, the cops wanted to prove that B of 70k was blah blah of Cave Clan, whose real name was blah blah. They were trying to connect the triangle so they could convict blah blah, and so they were doing all that. And I said to the cops, I don't know, I only found out about it from the media, which is like anyone that knows these guys. So a good lawyer would just say, how do you know that this is so-and-so? And I said, I don't know. I only knew that he was in 70k because of the... And that's what my angle was, because I knew a good lawyer would shoot it out of the water. I even sent it to B's father. I'm not sure if I actually sent it, but I rang him and told him what I'd said, and that, you know, that a lawyer would easily shoot it down. So they were saying that I would go into a court and point out this guy and say that B is blah blah blah. And I said, no, I don't know for sure. And I said, people in Cave Clan, we don't give out our names either. So I didn't know that blah blah. So I don't actually know that blah blah is blah blah, other than reading in the media that it was this guy whose name I didn't know, whose real name I didn't know. Now, between you and I did know his real name. But this is what I'm telling the police. So they tidied that all up for me just to sound like I'm just singing like a bird, you know. Yes, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And that's when I said to him, I'm not going into court and going to lie for you. I'm not going to lie for you. So those guys, fair enough, you know, in ours defence and anyone else that believed it, and it was a proper statement, I guess. It was just a fucking bit of paper with typing on it. They could have written anything. They could have written, I'm Duggo and I suck dicks. You know, like, they could have done anything and just put it. And those guys, you know, that's what I meant when I say they fell for the 2-card trick or whatever you call it. They said to me right at the end of the interview, they go, so if there's anyone you want to get kicked out of the Cave Clan, you want to get fucked up, that's into graffiti, just give us their details. I guess, you know, the fact that these guys said that I dogged on people, you couldn't even further from the truth. But they were giving me every chance to. Whew. But like I was saying earlier on, you know, I'm not going to inform on something so trivial, and basically everyone I know. It would turn everyone I know against me, and that's one reason why I'm probably still bringing it up, because it's not something I want, you know, said about me. There's other things that are said about me that I don't really give a shit about, probably because they're true. But this is just 100% bullshit, so that's why I sort of go on about it. But I'm not, this is it after this. I'm just going to give people this link if anyone asks me. When we left the interview room, it was night time now. It was daytime when they took me in. It was like before dinner. And it was like 10 o'clock at night when they dropped me off. And yeah, they dropped me off and they're like, see you, Duggo, as they drive off. I got a book, which I forgot about this until this shit came up again. The Duggo informed on us shit came up, I don't know, 6 months ago, before I started recording this. And I said to my wife, they're still going on about that. They're still fucking talking shit about that, you know, 70k thing. And she reminded me of something that B sent me a book when he was on the run overseas, and it was to do with Blue Murder, the Australian TV shows. It was one of the crims that frequent in that a bit, and in the book was because I was looking after B's chickens when he fucked off overseas. He left his chickens, because we had a chicken coop, an empty chicken coop, so unfortunately the chickens eventually got eaten by fucking foxes, but so we were pretty good friends, which is why I sort of go on a bit about this. And anyway, she was going, I remember he gave you the book. Oh yeah, and in the book there was a note, and it said, and this is from B, sorry about all this shit that we've dragged you into. Do or say whatever you want to get out of it. I understand, you know, it's our fault that you got dragged into it. He may not even remember it. Like I said, if you ever meet my wife, ask her. She reminded me about it. I was like, that's right. He cunningly stuck this note in the back of the book. You know, I was a bit disappointed. Very recently, when I sort of thought I'd try to contact B, and I contacted another 70k guy who I'll call P, and he's like, he doesn't want anything to do with you. He doesn't want to hear anything you've got to say. So I was a bit disappointed. That sort of made me think, oh yeah, these guys are still, if he's still thinking that after 20 years, they've totally... Oh yeah, another little thing. Bad cop. One night I'm watching the news in Paran, I don't know, under one of the main roads, just along from Paran railway station, or maybe even Toorak, South Yarra, somewhere along there. They found a homeless person's body, and yeah, they had a cop with the clipboard coming. The news had filmed this cop coming out from under the bridge. Yeah, and it was bad cop. I thought, oh yeah, I know that prick. But oh yeah, that's right. I was talking about Australia Day and all that, and I got the beer in my hand. Phone rings. I answer it, and it's fucking good cop. Duggo, I'm just ringing to let you know.
Awesome.
And I'm being totally honest with all this shit. Otherwise, I'll just leave this out. He goes, I'm just ringing to let you know that you've been removed from the informants listing or some shit like that. I said, I'm not an informer. You just took a statement from me. And he said, well, as soon as you give a policeman a statement, you're an informant. Also, the copper's called an informant too, which, just out of something I didn't know. So when you're reading things, it can get quite confusing. I said, look, mate, I'm at a friend's barbecue playing cricket with their kids. Can you wrap it up, sort of thing. This is before I knew that the pricks had been flashing my, whatever you want to call it, first draft statement. But I know some of you are going to be saying, well, you're fucked for making a statement even, but mate, I gave those guys so much friggin' information. I'll tell you a funny, little funny story. One of the guys who I'll call S, I sort of gave him, I just pretended I didn't know. They asked me by his tag, do you know who S is? And I said, I think that's one of their girlfriends. And I knew it was a dude, but I just couldn't, that's generally what I did with these cops. And anyway, I got a message to someone and I said, I'll tell S that, they're looking for him too.
Some huge rats in Ballarat. Like biggest rats I've seen, like sea rats. Water rats, I want to be called.
Anyway, I get this phone call and he goes, and it's S. He was awesome. Like, I used to get on so well with this guy, and, now he's on the Duggo's grass, an informer. He rings me and he goes, oh, hi Duggo, it's S. I'm ringing you from a phone box because I heard that the police could be tapping phones and all that. And I just said to him, mate, they don't know who you are. They're trying to find you, so they're not going to have your phone tapped. If they're going to have anyone's phone tapped, it's going to be mine. And he's like, oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I know, all this shit. Then I've had like 8 or so messages. How I first found out that they were calling me a grass was from another mate of mine had heard it. And he goes, oh, this is awkward, but they're saying this and they're saying that. And at the time I was like, fucking what? That's what I said. There's a lot of people that can prove what I'm saying's true. If he had any ball, he'd be able to say, yep, Duggo told us fucking everything. Another guy who I called G, he was in one of the photo in the train yards. I told him about it. B, he could tell you about the letter he put in the book if he remembers it.
It's too late. Can't bother getting hassled about more graffiti.
But yeah, my whole point, as I mentioned at the start, if I was going to inform on them, I had heaps of material. They'd been in Cave Clan for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I can't remember, and I had friggin', and I can't say this, but I actually had proper to do with graffiti. I had shit back then, but information that I didn't tell them about, and I'm not even going to go there. And like I said, as Chopper Reed said, why let the truth get in the way of a good story? I don't know, out of my 25 best mates, 20 of them would be graffitiists or involved in the graffiti scene or have graffiti mates. As if I'm going to fuck that up over a broken KFC sign. Seriously. And anyway, B ended up going to court. He got fuck all. I wasn't called. No, there was no fucking big boxes of information that I'd given them, or I gave them nothing. And anyway, I hope you liked the story. It is a bit of something different. I hope it wasn't too boring. At least it was while we were walking through a good drain anyway. Alright, I don't know, maybe suggest if you want me to do a drain in particular. I'll probably do a few more of these. I sort of enjoy them. Yeah, alright. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.